It was shocking news for Pawn Stars fans when rumors started spreading that Richard Kevin Harrison, better known as Rick Harrison, had been sentenced to life in prison. Rick, famous for his no-nonsense approach to business and encyclopedic knowledge on the show, suddenly found himself in serious legal trouble, something no one expected. For years, Pawn Stars entertained audiences by showing the fascinating world of pawn dealing, rare artifacts, tough negotiations, and the daily drama inside Rick Harrison's famous Las Vegas pawn shop. But now, Rick's flourishing TV career has taken a dark and unexpected turn. But what exactly did he do to deserve such a severe punishment? Stay with us as we delve into what led to this drastic turn in Rick's life and the details of this shocking case. Richard Kevin Harrison, a well-known American businessman and TV personality, was born on March 22, 1965, in Lexington, North Carolina. At just 2 years old, he moved with his family to San Diego, California, where he spent most of his childhood. As a young boy, Rick developed epilepsy at age 8, which led him to spend much of his childhood reading books, contributing to his impressive knowledge of history that would later benefit his career. Rick's early life wasn't easy. His battle with epilepsy meant he often missed school, eventually dropping out during his sophomore year of high school. This setback, however, didn't diminish his ambition or his thirst for knowledge. Instead, he devoted himself to self-education, devouring books on a wide range of subjects, particularly history and business. This autodidactic approach would later become evident in his encyclopedic knowledge displayed on Pawn Stars. In his teenage years, Rick began working alongside his father in various business ventures. He developed a keen eye for value and authenticity, skills that would prove invaluable in his future career. At the age of 17, Rick's girlfriend, Kim, became pregnant, prompting them to marry. The young couple would eventually have 2 sons, Corey and Adam, before divorcing after 8 years of marriage. In 1981, Rick's family relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada, where his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, known as the Old Man, opened the gold and silver coin shop in 1981. The business eventually evolved into the world-famous gold and silver pawn shop in 1989, which would become the setting for Pawn Stars decades later. The transition from a coin shop to a pawn shop was strategic, as the Harrisons recognized the potential for higher profits in the pawn business. The early years were challenging, with Rick and his father working long hours to establish their reputation in Las Vegas. Rick often found himself dealing with difficult customers and sometimes dangerous situations, experiences that toughened him and honed his negotiation skills. By the early 2000s, Rick had become well known in Las Vegas for his expertise in various collectibles and historical items. The pawn shop gained a reputation as a place where one could find unusual and valuable items, attracting both locals and tourists. Recognizing the entertainment potential of his business, Rick began pitching the idea of a reality show based on the daily operations of the pawn shop. After years of rejection and persistent efforts, Rick finally secured a deal with the History Channel in 2009. Pawn Stars began airing, following the daily operations of the gold and silver pawn shop. The show showcased Rick, his son Corey Big Hoss Harrison, his father the Old Man Harrison, and their friend Austin Shumley Russell as they evaluated, bought, and sold items of historical significance and questionable value. The show became an instant hit, transforming Rick from a local pawn shop owner into a television celebrity. His catchphrases, straightforward manner, and extensive knowledge about historical artifacts made him a fan favorite. Rick's signature line, "The best I can do is," became iconic as he negotiated with customers looking to sell their treasures. What set Pawn Stars apart from other reality shows was the educational aspect that Rick insisted upon. Each episode featured historical information about the items brought into the shop, with Rick often providing detailed context and background that showcased his vast knowledge. This approach appealed to a broad audience, making the show one of the History Channel's most successful programs. Under Rick's guidance, the pawn shop expanded its business, attracting tourists from around the world who hoped to catch a glimpse of the stars or even appear on an episode. Merchandise sales soared, and Rick capitalized on his fame by writing books, making personal appearances, and even opening a restaurant. The success of Pawn Stars catapulted Rick into a new realm of celebrity. He appeared on numerous talk shows, was featured in magazines, and became a sought-after speaker at business events. His rags-to-riches story resonated with many Americans, and his straightforward business advice gained him respect beyond the entertainment industry. As the face of Pawn Stars, Rick was known for his business acumen and straightforward approach. He was the voice of reason on the show, often reining in his son Corey's ambitious purchases or Chumley's occasional antics. His relationship with his father, the old man, showed a mutual respect built on years of working side by side. When his father passed away in 2018, Rick demonstrated his commitment to honoring his legacy by continuing to run the business with the same principles. Rick's personal life during the height of Pawn Stars' popularity had its ups and downs. After his first marriage ended, he married Tracy Harrison, and they remained together for 27 years before divorcing in 2011. In 2013, Rick married Deanna Burdett in a ceremony officiated by his Counting Cars co-star Danny Coker, with Chumlee serving as ring bearer. His family life, while mostly kept private, occasionally featured in discussions on the show, revealing a man dedicated to his family despite the demands of fame and business. Rick expanded his business ventures beyond the pawn shop, opening Rick's Roll and Smoke Barbecue and Tavern at Pawn Plaza, adjacent to the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. He also co-authored the 2011 book License to Pawn, Deals, Steals, and My Life at the Gold and Silver, which detailed his life and business philosophy. Always the entrepreneur, Rick was constantly looking for new opportunities to grow his brand and expand his business empire. Throughout his career, Rick demonstrated a remarkable ability to spot value where others might miss it. On Pawn Stars, viewers watched as he evaluated items ranging from historical documents to vintage cars, ancient artifacts to modern collectibles. His expertise seemed boundless, though he frequently called in specialists when items fell outside his knowledge base, showing a businessman's prudence in knowing the limits of his expertise. Rick has bought and sold many items on the show. Some were great deals, while others weren't so good. His expertise in firearms, watches, and American history items often led to successful deals, turning modest investments into significant profits for the shop. One of his most famous purchases was a 2001 New England Patriots Super Bowl ring, which he bought for $2,600 and valued at significantly more. Another notable acquisition was a collection of Spanish gold doubloons recovered from a 1715 shipwreck. Rick, showcasing his interests in both history and valuable precious metals, talking about good things, had faced his share of not-so-good experiences, mainly a result of the choices he made. To be honest, in 2023, his legal troubles began when federal agents raided his Las Vegas home as part of an investigation that had been ongoing for several months. Initially, the public was kept in the dark about the nature of the investigation, leading to rampant speculation online. The raid came as a complete shock to fans and even those close to Rick. FBI agents, accompanied by IRS investigators and representatives from the Department of Cultural Heritage Protection, executed search warrants at both Rick's home and the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop. Employees and customers present during the raid at the shop were temporarily detained while agents confiscated computers, documents, and several items from the store's inventory. Rick's son, Corey, who was at the shop during the raid, later described the scene as surreal and like something out of a movie. According to witnesses, Rick remained calm as agents escorted him from his home, maintaining his composure even as neighbors captured the moment on cell phones, with footage quickly spreading across social media. As details slowly emerged, it became clear that the authorities were investigating allegations of a sophisticated tax evasion scheme, money laundering operations connected to high-value items passing through the pawn shop, and claims of dealing in illegally obtained artifacts. The investigation had apparently been triggered by suspicious transactions flagged by financial institutions and complaints from former business associates. In the weeks following the raid, the History Channel suspended production of Pawn Stars, issuing a brief statement that they were monitoring the situation and would make appropriate decisions as more information became available. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop remained open, though with noticeably fewer customers, as the legal cloud hanging over Rick began to affect the business. Initially, Rick's representatives issued strong denials of any wrongdoing, describing the investigation as a misunderstanding that would soon be cleared up. His attorney, David Marshall, a high-profile Las Vegas lawyer known for representing celebrity clients, assured the public that Rick had always operated his businesses with integrity and in full compliance with all applicable laws. However, as the investigation progressed, troubling details began to surface. Authorities claimed they found evidence suggesting Rick had been involved in a complex operation to undervalue certain historical artifacts for tax purposes while selling them through private channels at their true market value. Additionally, investigators alleged that Rick had knowingly purchased stolen historical items through intermediaries, including documents of significant historical importance and artifacts belonging to museums and private collections. According to court documents later made public, the investigation had been triggered in part by a former employee who had worked closely with Rick on the acquisition of several high-value items. This whistleblower provided authorities with details about a separate bookkeeping system allegedly maintained for transactions that Rick wanted to keep off the official records. Rick was arrested but released on bond the following day and scheduled to appear in court days later. He was faced with multiple felony charges, including tax evasion, money laundering, dealing in stolen property, and conspiracy to traffic illegally obtained cultural artifacts. His lawyer, David Marshall, confirmed that Rick vehemently denied all charges and would fight them in court. The legal battle that followed lasted nearly a year, with Rick maintaining his innocence throughout the proceedings. However, as evidence mounted and former associates testified against him, his position grew increasingly precarious. The prosecution presented financial records, encrypted messages, and testimony from former employees who claimed Rick had instructed them to alter documentation for certain high-value items. They also produced evidence suggesting he had established offshore accounts to hide profits from particularly valuable transactions. One damning piece of evidence was a series of text messages between Rick and an unidentified supplier discussing how to clean the provenance of an 18th-century document believed to have been stolen from a university archive. In another exchange, Rick allegedly discussed how to structure a sale to avoid triggering reporting requirements for large cash transactions. Throughout the pre-trial proceedings, Rick's public persona remained defiant. He made several appearances on conservative talk shows, claiming he was being targeted for his political views and success. His supporters rallied around him, creating Free Rick hashtags and organizing protests outside the courthouse during hearings. Rick hit a low point when he broke the law, shocking many who saw him as the knowledgeable, straight-shooting businessman of Pawn Stars. The arrest report for Pawn Stars Rick Harrison has just been released. In reality, he had a much more calculating side that few expected. His legal troubles revealed a different aspect of his personality, and the surprises didn't stop there. While many have been quick to judge Rick based on media reports, it's important to remember that everyone deserves compassion during their most challenging times. Many loyal fans have organized support groups on social media, emphasizing that regardless of the charges, Rick's positive impact on their lives through his educational approach on Pawn Stars deserves recognition. "Rick taught me to love history in a way school never could," wrote one supporter. "Now it's our turn to show him that we haven't forgotten the good he's done." If you've been touched by Rick's work over the years, consider joining these support communities online. The courtroom fell silent as the sentence was read. Rick, who had maintained his composure throughout the trial, visibly paled. His son, Corey, seated behind him, put his head in his hands. Chum-Lee, who had attended every day of the trial in support of his mentor, was seen quickly exiting the courtroom, overcome with emotion. The sentence shocked legal experts, with many suggesting it was disproportionate to the crimes committed. However, the judge emphasized that the sentence reflected not only the financial crimes but also the irreparable damage done to historical and cultural heritage through Rick's involvement in trafficking looted artifacts. "Mr. Harrison, you have presented yourself to the American public as a guardian of history, someone who values the stories behind objects and recognizes their importance to our collective heritage," the judge stated during sentencing. "Yet, in reality, you have participated in the systematic looting and destruction of irreplaceable cultural sites for personal profit. This court cannot ignore the gravity of such actions." In the days following the sentencing, Rick's legal team filed an immediate appeal, arguing that the punishment was excessive and unconstitutional given the non-violent nature of the crimes. They also requested that Rick be allowed to remain free on bond pending the appeal, a request that was denied, leading to images of Rick being led away in handcuffs dominating news coverage and social media. The reaction to Rick's conviction and sentencing was mixed. Many longtime fans expressed disbelief, suggesting that there must have been a miscarriage of justice. Others, particularly those from the academic and cultural heritage communities, applauded the severe sentence as a necessary deterrent to the lucrative trade in looted artifacts. Rick's situation has inspired an unprecedented wave of solidarity among his fan base. The Hearts for Harrison campaign has collected over 100,000 signatures petitioning for a review of his case, with supporters emphasizing the disproportionate nature of his sentence compared to similar cases. "We're not saying he shouldn't face consequences if he broke the law," explained campaign organizer Melissa Jenkins. "We're saying that a life sentence for nonviolent offenses doesn't reflect justice, it reflects vengeance. If you believe Rick deserves a second chance, consider adding your name to the petition or donating to his legal defense fund. Even a small contribution can help ensure he has the resources needed for an effective appeal. Every prayer, every kind message, every dollar toward his legal defense makes a difference." Corey has stated, "My father made mistakes, but he doesn't deserve to die in prison. He deserves the chance to make amends. The History Channel moved quickly to distance itself from Rick, officially canceling Pawn Stars and removing reruns from its immediate broadcasting schedule. In a statement, the network expressed deep disappointment in Rick's actions and affirmed its commitment to the respectful and legal treatment of historical artifacts and cultural heritage. Despite his legal troubles, Rick's impact on the world of reality television and the pawn industry remained significant. Before his legal issues, he had successfully built a business empire that extended far beyond the pawn shop. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to open several restaurants and bars in Las Vegas, and he had plans for expansion into other cities. The Gold and Silver Pawn Shop, now managed by his son Corey Harrison, continues to be a popular tourist destination in Las Vegas, though visitor numbers initially dropped following Rick's conviction. Corey has worked to rebrand the shop, emphasizing transparency in all transactions and partnering with museums and educational institutions to promote ethical collecting practices. In an emotional interview 6 months after his father's sentencing, Corey spoke about the challenges of preserving the family business while addressing the legitimate concerns raised during the trial. "We've implemented rigorous new protocols for verifying the provenance of every item we purchase," he explained. "What happened was wrong, and we're committed to being part of the solution, not the problem." Chumley, who had always looked up to Rick as a mentor and father figure, has spoken publicly about his conflicted feelings. "I learned so much from Rick, good business practices that I'll carry with me forever," he said in a podcast interview, "but I've had to accept that there was another side to him that I never saw or maybe didn't want to see." It's been hard for the Harrison family. The focus remains on rebuilding their reputation and business while supporting Rick through the appeal process. Corey, now fully in charge of the family enterprise, has demonstrated business acumen that surprised many who knew him primarily as Rick's sometimes impulsive son on the show. The Harrison family has been overwhelmed by the outpouring of love and support from fans around the world. "Your messages of encouragement have been a lifeline for our father," Corey said in a recent press statement. "He reads every letter sent to him and draws strength from knowing so many people still believe in him despite everything. Rick needs your support now more than ever." The family has organized prayer circles every Sunday outside the pawn shop, where loyal fans gather to show solidarity. If you can't make it to Las Vegas, the family encourages supporters to send letters, cards, or even photos of memorable moments from the show that brought joy to viewers. These small gestures make an enormous difference to a man facing his darkest hours. "My father taught me everything I know about this business," Corey said in a recent interview. "The good parts of that education are what I'm trying to build on now. We made mistakes, big ones, but this shop has been part of Las Vegas for over 30 years, and I'm determined to make sure it's here for 30 more. Rick's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary, from a small pawn shop owner to a reality TV star, entrepreneur, and now a convicted felon serving a life sentence. His transformation from respected businessman to disgraced public figure demonstrates how quickly fortunes can change, especially in the unforgiving spotlight of fame. Cultural commentators have noted the almost Shakespearean nature of Rick's downfall, a man whose exceptional knowledge of history ultimately did not prevent him from making historical artifacts the instrument of his destruction. His story has become a cautionary tale about the dangers of success, the temptations that come with it, and the sometimes blurry lines between shrewd business and criminal activity. As this story continues to unfold, we'll bring you all the latest developments on this unprecedented case that has left the world of reality television reeling in a family business fighting for its survival without its charismatic leader. In these difficult times, Rick Harrison needs all the support he can get. If you've been a fan of Pawn Stars and appreciate what Rick has brought to television over the years, consider sending your prayers, positive thoughts, and words of encouragement his way. The Harrison family has set up a website where supporters can leave messages that will be delivered to Rick in prison. Your kind words might make all the difference during this challenging chapter of his life. The address for sending letters of support is also available on the website, with the family noting that hearing from fans has been Rick's main source of strength during this ordeal. As one family statement put it, Rick has always appreciated the Pawn Stars viewers. Now more than ever, knowing you're still in his corner means everything to him.